سلامات. سلامات أستاذ أحمد.
أستاذ فراس، أنت معي؟
يسعد أوقاتك. إيه أنا
أهلا
معك.
وسهلا ومرحبا. ما
كيف
تأخذنا
صحتك؟ إن شاء
تأخرت
الله.
عليك شوي.
لا ولا يهمك، أنا بالانتظار.
تأخيرات مثل ما بقولوا تقنية.
ولا يهمك ولا يهمك يا سيدي. كيف
بس
صحتك؟ إن
أنا
شاء الله
ماني
بخير.
شايفك أستاذ.
لحظة هلا شغل الكاميرا. أنا ماني مشغل الكاميرا للأسف. لحظة هلا شغلت الكاميرا.
أهلا وسهلا ومرحبا.
أهلين بحضرتك.
يسعد لي صباحك بعد زمان.
يسعد لي أوقاتك وتضلك بخير يا أستاذ.
أنا بالكمامة لأني قاعد مع الطلاب.
نعم.
أنت خذ راحتك طبعا. لحظة شوي رح أوصلها مع الشاشة.
نعم.
أوكي. تسمعني؟
معك أستاذ.
قبل شوي ما كنت سمعني. لحظة. هلا هيك
هلا راح صوتك.
وهلا سمعاني؟
هلا سمعانك. إيه
والله غريبة.
ممكن تكون في وصلة أو شيء. أنا حاطط سماعة
لحظة
مشان
شوي.
أسمعك بشكل جيد.
هلا هيك سمعاني، بس المشكلة
طبعا.
وقت اللي بوصل الصوت على الشاشة ما بتقعد تسمعني أنت.
آه.
لحظة شوي نجرب شغلة.
معك.
طيب. لحظة نجرب. أتشكرا音声が出ると、ここのマイクは向こう側は聞こえなくなっちゃうんですよ。どうしたらいい？この設定はね、どうしよう。طيب. لحظة شوية لا أعطيك. صار هلا معك صلاحية بمشاركة الباوربوينت. بس لحظة شوي. أول بتحب تشاركها ما في مشكلة.
ما بعرف طلعت.
إيه شاركها، بس هلا هيك الصوت ما ظابط معنا لأنه عم بيطلع الصوت من كمبيوتر كتير صغير. كيكوين هيدا شو وتشكرا.
طيب هيك بينت
لا لسه ما بينت.
أنا بتذكر شلون إحنا وقت شاركناها.
عملت لك صلاحيات مشاركة. دوش ترى إيدي شو
المشكلة؟
أستاذ فراس.
نعم.
مبدئيا أنا حقوم بالتعريف بحضرتك.
نعم.
هلا ماشي الحال كويس. بينت معنا هلا مبينة معنا الشاشة.
تمام.
تمام. هلا مبينة. راح أقوم بالتعريف بحضرتك وبعدين بس بديت بحضرتك محاضرة. راح أوصل الصوت على الشاشة.
نعم.
أنت ما بتقدر تسمعني.
نعم.
بس إذا في أي شيء بس أعمل لي هيك باي باي أنا بشوفك.
حاضر أعمل لك هيك.
لا أنت بتقدر تحكي معي. عفوا. أنت ممكن تقول لي مثلا، فأنا وقتها بشيل وبحكي معك.
ماشي.
شوي التكنولوجيا هون شوي الظاهر قديمة. لا هي القاعة بالذات يعني غريبة. لحظة شوي شو طلعت؟ ليش غريب الشاشة سوداء. غريب شوي. راح نشيل الخلفية.これも珍しいね、ここ真っ暗。ね。どうなってる？わかんない。كمان لحظة لو سمحت. لحظة شوي كوري.
تمام تمام. سلامات. منور منور.
اهلا اهلا. سلامات استاذي. انا بحاول هلا احط كاميرا متحركة مشان دير على الطلاب.
يا ريت.
توشيباじゃない。ディスプレイショイ使う。お、الحمد لله。これでいい。とりあえず一つ解決。これはここだけ見える。
皆さん、こんにちは。
こんにちはっていうこと。大きい声で、こんにちは。せっかく挨拶してるじゃないですか。あっちは見えないね。手挙げて。見えないね。こっちは。これ OK です。ここに移ってもらえますか？あっち。بس لحظة نظبط لهم القعدة مشان يطلعوا لأنه في بعضهم ما كانوا ظاهرين. كوتشيお願いします。はい、じゃあ3人でも、そう。もう、まあいいでしょう。はい、どうぞ座ってください。これでいいかな？はい。الآن أنا راح أبدأ بتعريف حضرتك وبعدين راح أحط الصوت مع الشاشة وتبلش المحاضرة.
نعم.
هاي 皆さんこんにちは。Our speaker today is a diplomat from the Syrian Arab Republic Embassy in Tokyo. 今日のゲストは、外交官です。シリア・アラブ共和国の大使館、の、حضرتك القنصل صحيح يا أستاذ؟
نعم.
そう、大使館の中には領事、ということで、です。はい。今日は、シリアの、いろんなことを伝えて、いただけるということで、皆さん、ゆっくり聞いてください。フィラース先生は、ダマスカス大学を卒業しまして、その後はチリ南米ですね。チリの大学から修士を得て、その後にはシリアの外務省に勤めて、今までずっといろんな国で外交官として活躍しました。So our guest today graduated from University of Damascus and then he got his master's degree from Chile and he joined the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Syria some time ago. I don't know when, but
18 years ago, like that.
15 years?
18
years ago. 18年前ですね。シリアの外務省に入って、and he served in different countries. Now he is in Japan and he is in the Syrian embassy in Tokyo. So welcome to our guest, important guest, very important guest, Mr. Firas. And now I will ask Mr. Firas to speak and give us our lecture, the lecture to our student. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So,
good afternoon, everybody. It's always nice to meet you. Last year, I have met with your colleagues from the third and fourth grade, and we talked about the topic regarding the economic situation in Syria before and after, from 2010 to 2020. As you know, Syria has suffered from 2011, is suffering from a terrorist war that has destroyed its infrastructure, killed its people, and destroyed its economy. But now we are gaining this war. We are finishing the terrorism and returning to build the international economy. As a matter of fact, I would like to send my thanks and gratefulness to His Excellency Ambassador Mohammed Hussein Khaddam, who has helped me in providing the best resources regarding our lecture today. And my thanks to Professor Ahmed Mansour Sensei, who is always giving this opportunity to meet with you, these young and fresh minds of Japanese intelligent students. Our lecture today is about the coercive unilateral measures imposed on the Syrian Arab Republic by USA and the European Union. The methodology of this lecture will be regarding, first of all, you should know the minimum regarding Syria. So I will give a little preface regarding Syria, location, geography, history, key terms to understand its culture, the sanctions. Then we will talk about the sanctions as foreign policy tool used by the USA. Its biased nature and its real implications. Then we will talk about a summary of the unilateral and coercive measures imposed on the Syrian Arab Republic. We will see how the international law is seeing these coercive measures, and what are the measures imposed by US, what the other measures imposed by the EU, and then we will talk about the effects of unilateral coercive measures against Syria, the effects of these measures, and at last we will have a discuss, if you like, why Syria is having this. So let's begin. Syria, this is Syria. It is in the Middle East. It's between Turkey, north of it is Turkey, to the east Iraq, to the south Jordan, and to the west Lebanon and the Mediterranean. The official language is Arabic. The area is 185,178 square kilometers. It has a coastal area, as you see here, and mountain regions here, and the interior region, which are plains, or the plains region, which includes, we have here Damascus and Aleppo. And by the way, Damascus is the most ancient inhabitant capital in the world, with 10,000 years BC. And Aleppo is the most ancient civilized city in the world, with 12,000 BC. We have here a desert in this area. We have here Palmyra, and Palmyra was the capital of an old and ancient Syria civilization. And the climate of Syria is Mediterranean region. It's somehow similar to the climate here in Japan, but with less humidity, because Japan is an island. Syria is not. We are on maybe on the same width line, Syria and Japan, or almost near. We have 14 administrative regions. The population is about 18,886,000. The most economic resources are agriculture, wheat, cotton, olives, beetroot, vegetables, and fruits, and the extractive industry like oil and gas. We have manufacturing industry, textile industries, chemical industries, and Syria is in the middle of the world. As you see, if you look at Syria, it is at the middle. This is Syria, this is Europe, this is Africa, and this is Asia. And Syria is in a very strategic and important location in the war, and maybe this is one of the reasons of the if it is of being always under the case of war, because all the powers want to dominate this area. I want to talk now about the culture, the Syrian culture. There are two key terms to understand the Syrians. First of all, is diversity. We have about 30, let me say, sects or 30 religions. We have multi-nationalities. We have not nationalities. Let me say not multi-nationalities. I will say multi. We have all Syrians, and we are proud of being Syrians. But we have, for example, Arabs. We have Kurds. We have Circassian. We have the three religions: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, with all their sects. So this thing is making Syria the culture. The Syrian culture can't exist without the diversity culture, without accepting the other, without respecting the other. So you can find a Christian who is living next to Muslim. You can find a church next to the mosque, and everyone is respecting each other and respecting their beliefs, and they are all united under being Syrians. The second thing is the other keyword is that rules the Syrian political positions and affects deeply Syria's economy is the Palestinian cause. And as a consequence, the Arabic-Israeli struggle and the peace process. This is making us spending a lot of defensive expenditures. We have got refugees, Palestinian refugees from 1948, and this is the aim of Israel, the aim of the Zionist entity is to divide our bigger scenario, which is the Levant, which is Bilad Sham, which is containing Syria, Lebanon, as I show you Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, and Palestine. So this is an overview regarding Syria. I hope that it is good enough to give you an idea about what is the country that we are talking about. Second thing we want to talk about is the sanctions as foreign policy tool used by USA. And here I found a very important or I was indicated by my ambassador to a very important reference, which is an article in the Foreign Affairs issue 2021, volume 100, number 5. It's under the title, "The United States of Sanctions, the Use and Abuse of Economic Coercion." It is written by Daniel Drenzer, and he is a professor of international politics and the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy at Tufts University. And he says, in theory, superpowers should possess a range of foreign policy tools: military might, cultural cachet, diplomatic persuasion, technological prowess, economic aid, and so on. But to anyone paying attention to US foreign policy for the past decade, we are talking about the last 10 years, it has become obvious that the United States relies on one tool above all: its economic sanctions. So the United States is now mostly relying on this tool to promulgate its civilization, its culture, its hegemony, and these sanctions are biased, selective, and inhuman, has an inhuman nature. And the same source says sanctions measures taken by the country to disturb economic exchange with another have become the go-to solution for nearly every foreign policy problem. During President Barack Obama's first term, the United States designated an average of 500 entities for sanctions per year, for reasons ranging from human rights abuses to nuclear proliferation to violation of territorial sovereignty. That figure nearly doubled over the course of Donald Trump's presidency. President Joe Biden, in his first few months in office, imposed new sanctions against Myanmar, Nicaragua, and Russia. He has not fundamentally altered any of the Trump administration's sanctions programs beyond lifting those against the International Criminal Court. But here where we can see the bias. Here we can see that the hypocrisy of these sanctions, because to punish Saudi Arabia for the murder of the dissident Jamal Khashoggi, the Biden administration sanctioned certain Saudi officials. They didn't make any sanctions against Saudi, against they just sanctioned a very few officials that they are, maybe they don't have anything to see. And this was not accepted by human rights activists. They wanted more. And another example is the Israeli treatment of the Palestinians. They are killing the Palestinians in blood, in cold blood, and making massacres against them. And there is no sanctions for violation of human rights regarding Israel. So this shows that these sanctions are not human, are not biased, are biased, and are not are selective. And now, so why United States is using this? So we said that it doesn't have another way, but why are they insisting on it? The truth is that Washington's fixation with sanctions has little to do with their efficacy and everything to do with something else: American decline. America is declining. Nowadays, America is declining economically, culturally. America is not continuing to be the first power. So no longer an unchallenged superpower. No. The United States can't throw its weight around the way it used to. In relative terms, its military power and diplomatic influence have declined. 2 decades of war, recession, polarization, and now a pandemic have dented American power. Frustrated US presidents are left with fewer arrows in their quiver, and they are quick to reach for the easy available tool of sanctions. These are not my words, by the way. These are the words of an American professor who is Daniel Drenzer in the Foreign Affairs magazine. So let's now become more precise. So what are let me give you a summary of the unilateral and coercive measures imposed on the Syrian Arab Republic. First of all, I want you to know that these are not tools that are used by the 6th and 7th article of the UNCK, United Nations Security Council, because these are imposed by countries. They are not imposed by the international law. They are not imposed by any international organizations. No sanctions are imposed against Syria from international body. They are all imposed by United States and by the EU. So how is the international law seeing these unilateral and coercive measures? First of all, they are a violation of a set of principles of international law. And for example, it is an aggression, because you are with the sanctions, you are fighting the people of the country on their livelihood. And the elements of illegal international intervention are present in the so we have illegal intervention when you impose as a country a sanction against another. These sanctions contradicts with the principle of sovereign equality and the principle of non-interference in the internal affairs of other countries, as well as the principle of implementing international obligations in good faith, which must not be limited to the implementation of obligations of the contractual nature, but extends to those emanating from customary rules and general principles recognized in international law. Some countries that possess economic power and financial mechanisms, led by the United States of America and the European Union, have granted themselves the right to use these measures as an instrument of their foreign policy with the aim of forcing the targeted countries like Syria. We have another countries like Cuba, we have Nicaragua, we have Venezuela, we have a lot of countries that are, why? Because now we will see why in the case of Syria. Of forcing the targeted countries to submit to their dictates. So they want them, nothing related to the human rights, nothing related to it is just they want their political will to be dictated on these countries. This is a violation of international law, including the Charter of the United Nations, and a violation of the sovereignty of the target countries, as I told you, a violation of the rights and national choices of their people. There are numerous resolutions adopted by the the United Nations General Assembly, the Human Rights Council, and the Commission on Human Rights. And despite these resolutions are adopted in multiple United Nations conferences, unilateral coercive, despite of that, unilateral coercive measures are still taken and implemented with all their negative consequences affecting social, humanitarian activities and economic and social development in the targeted countries, especially when these measures have extraterritorial effects or affects third parties, which creates obstacle to the enjoyment of all human rights by peoples and individuals. Several countries and international bodies have imposed unilateral unilateral coercive measures on the Syrian Arab Republic. At the time when these countries claim their concern for the Syrian people, they continue to impose their coercive measures on the Syrians and link provision of any aid in the field of development or reconstruction to political conditions, which contradicts, it adheres to the principles of humanitarian and development work and impedes the efforts of the Syrian state to achieve recovery and reconstruction and to create appropriate conditions for the return of internally displaced persons and refugees to their homes. The main block these measures comes from the United States of America and the European Union. So I will talk now about the US measures against Syria. The United States of America imposes the oldest package of coercive unilateral measures dating back to 1979, after which it witnessed successive waves that extended and expanded through it. These measures are characterized by their infringement nature, meaning that their effects extend to third countries other than target country. It means if there's a third country that will deal with the sanctioned country, it will be sanctioned as well. So if so, it will, this country that is trying to help, for example, Syria, it will be sanctioned by the American measures. And for example, European investors fear these measures more than those imposed by the European Union itself. These measures come in implementation of multiple legal texts, some of which are executive orders issued by the US presidents, and some of them are general laws approved by Congress. And they targeted the aviation, oil, communications, technology, import and export sectors, banks, public and private companies, and people. I will give two examples. First of all, the Executive Order 13,582. We have a pile of orders and laws that are imposed against Syria. If you are interested, I will send you the list. But I will talk about two to give an example. For example, this executive order, it freezes all property and interests in property of the Syrian government, including its agencies, organs, and entities under its control. It's it sanctions any American who wants to invest in Syria. It's prohibits exporting, re-exporting, selling, or supplying any services, whether directly or indirectly, to Syria from the United States, or by any person from the United States, wherever he is. Supplying all oil or petroleum products of Syrian origin to the United States. Any transaction or by any person from the United States, wherever he is located, related to or in connection with petroleum or products of Syrian origin. Any consent by any person of the United States, wherever he may be, to financing, facilitating, or guaranteeing a transaction of a foreign person if the transaction of that foreign person would be to Syria. The other, for example, the Department of Commerce prohibits the export and re-export of many items subject to export management regulations to Syria. The other example that I want to give is Caesar Law. Caesar Law is the latest episode of these American measures. Its name is Caesar Law for the prohibition of civilians in Syria, which has been approved by the U.S. House of Representatives in 2016. Came to effect and by the Senate in December 2019, and was within the budget of the Ministry of Defense, American Emergency for the year 2020, and signed by the President of the United States at the same month on June 17, 2020. The most prominent feature of this law are the texts that are directly targeting the reconstruction process. Here, because Syria has suffered from a war of 11 years, last 11 years. So this law is targeting any reconstruction process of Syria. They won't allow anybody to invest in Syria to reconstruct there. It also have sanctions against the Central Bank of Syria related to foreign policy personalities who have entered into certain financial transactions or banning entry to the United States of America if any person has provided with full knowledge of any significant financial material or technical support to Syria, to the Syrian government, including any entity belonging to it, foreign figure who represents a military contractor or a paramilitary force that knowingly works within the military forces inside Syria. A foreign person who has been subject to sanctions under the International Emergency Economic Powers in relation to Syria. supply, if anyone supplying goods, services, technologies, important information, or other support that greatly facilitates the process of maintaining or expanding the area of the Syrian government's total production. If something related to aircraft, for parts of for aircrafts that benefits the Syrian country, goods or services related to the operations of aircraft also used for military purposes in Syria. Directly or indirectly important construction and engineering services to the Syrian government. This is an idea about the laws. As you see, they are trying to suffocate the Syrian people. They are trying to cut the air on the Syrian economy. The EU measures are, for example, restrictions on the import of crude oil, banning investment in the Syrian oil industry, banning investment in companies working in building new power plants, prohibition of participation in the construction of new power plants, banning the export of equipment and basic technology in the oil and gas industry to Syria, freezing the assets of Syrian Central Bank of Syria, prohibition of trade in gold, precious metals, and diamonds with Syrian public authorities and the central bank, prohibition of providing the central bank with currency in the form of minted notes and coins, freezing the assets of a group of entities and individuals and banning their travel, prohibition of the export of certain equipment, technology, or software, banning spending or payments related to existing loan agreements between Syria and the EU, European Investment Bank, prohibition of trading in Syria public bonds or public secured bonds from the Syrian government, prohibition of opening new branches or affiliated with Syrian financial institutions in the European Union. European banks are prohibited from opening offices or accounts in Syria. Someone will say maybe, but aren't there any exceptions that they are giving for the livelihood or for the necessities of the people to go on? And the answer is contrary to allegations that there are exceptions in the decisions of the European Union or the decisions of the Office of Foreign Assets Control of the United States, OFAC, regarding the financing of basic pharmaceutical and food items. These exceptions didn't receive any response from banks when spending payment orders or any request that would release funds frozen abroad with the aim of financing these the Central Bank of Syria. So they say that there are exceptions, but they are not allowing any exception. They are not allowing pharmaceutical products, food, repairing the electric plants, anything related to the necessities of the daily life of the Syrian. Now I would like to talk about the effects of the unilateral coercive measures against Syria. And I am taking these resources from the Planning and International Cooperation Authorities dated of Syria, dated in 25th of the 2nd of 2020. First of all, economic growth declined during the period 2011-2016 at an average rate of 15%. The growth rate in 2017 was -1%, and the improvement in 2018 to 1.5% was among the sectors most affected by the oil sector and the agricultural sector. So we don't have here sectors like service sectors or something. It's all the main sectors, and this also led to decline in the share of per capita gross domestic product. The volume of trade exchange between Syria and the world dropped from $28 billion in 2010 to $5 billion in 2016, and 6.7 to $9 billion during the period 2017-18. The inflation rose from the years 2016 to exceed 45% annually, and it reached 18.1% in 2017 and 1% in 2018. The over budget deficit increased from 2% of GDP in 2010 to 10% as an average number during the period 2011-2016, and reached 13% in 2017 and 17% in 2018. The starvation of the Syrian people and the intensification of their suffering after a war that lasted more than 10 years, which caused the immigration and displacement of millions of citizens and the loss of their homes, properties, and livelihood, as well as damage to infrastructure and productive services such as factories, workshops, and agricultural lands as a result of their exposure to destruction, looting, or theft by the terrorists. According to studies prepared by the World Food Program, about 90% of the Syrian people live below the poverty line. These studies also indicate a significant decline in the level of food security in a country, I would like to say this, in a country, Syria, before the war and the sanctions imposed on it, was always characterized as being food secure. Now we are, we have declination in food security. The inability of the public and the private sectors to complete the necessary financial settlements for the supply of basic materials for the lives of citizens. The difficulty of completing the operations of shipping goods to Syria ports. So we have a blockade. So you can't bring anything to Syria. You have to bring it to another port, and you have to transmit it from that, transport it from that port to Syria. And this adds 40% on the cost of any material that is entering Syria. The inability of Syrian industrial and agricultural producers to dispose their products in the local market due to the decrease in the purchasing power. As I told you, high inflation, little GDP per capita. This situation has made the purchasing power of the internal market very, very low. So there's no ability for them, for the producer, to have a good market inside, and he is prohibited from going outside. So he is under the siege of all sizes, all due to the sanctions. We have now, after Corona, we have three-dimensional complex crisis. These dimensions are, this dimensional complex crisis, or three-dimensional complex crisis, are war on Syria, as I explained, terrorist war against our country, economic sanctions that I have explained, and the Corona epidemic that exacerbated the economic situation in Syria due to the precautionary closure measures. As you know, the economy in all the world has came down during the Corona epidemic, but more in Syria, because we don't have only the Corona, we have the war on Syria and economic sanctions, and especially in the health sector. And its needs of confronting Corona epidemic. Last, the impact of unilateral coercive sanctions has reached the work of international organizations such as the World Bank. So it is not now only, these sanctions are not only against countries, it is against international organizations like the World Bank. The World Bank has rejected Syria's requests as a member state to allocate, and a founding member state. Syria was one of the founding states of the United Nations, to allocate part of the aid provided to countries to confront the Corona pandemic, which this indicates the presence of politicization in the work of international organizations, even in issues that directly affect people's lives. Now, you might ask yourself, why Syria? Why are you facing all this? Why America, United States, and Europe are against you? Why are they making all these sanctions against you? And the answer, I will show you now a video which I will translate some things for you, but it is testimonies by American officials. First of them is Wesley Clark, who was the leader of, or the chief in command of the NATO in 2001, and Robert F. Kennedy, who is the son of Robert Kennedy, the late senator, and the brother of John Kennedy, the late president, and from the Prime Minister of Qatar, who has admitted their conspiracy to destroy Syria. I will start the video now. This is Syria now, my friends.
أستاذ فراس.
نعم.
ما في صوت للفيديو، في صوت هلا أنت سمعان صوت للفيديو؟
إيه.
طيب لأقول لك شغلة، ممكن توقف الفيديو؟
إيه وقفته.
وبدك ترجع تعمل ستوب شيرينج الآن، وقف المشاركة مرة أخرى.
حاضر.
أوكي، اعمل مشاركة الآن للفيديو، بس في تحت اعمل مشاركة لو سمحت، روح على
لحظة بس أعمل ستوب شيرينج. audio settings.
already stopped.
stopped ها؟
Yes.
طيب.
ممكن تعمل مشاركة الآن للفيديو؟
لحظة لو سمحت. ما بعرف.
مثل ما عملت مشاركة
لعلي تغيرت الشاشة عندي. لحظة شوي لو سمحت. لحظة. ستوب فيديو. لا مو هاي اللي بدي اياها. هو انا خلصت، بس بدي اعرض عليهم هالفيديو.
نعم. هذا حتى يطلع الصوت في اثناء زر المشاركه بدك تعمل انه شارك الصوت.
طيب
مينا سان
ستوب
شو
شير.
اسمه
اوكي خلص عرفت. شير سكرين، بدي شارك الفيديو.
نعم.
شير.
في تحت
رحت.
في تحت لا استاذ، في تيك انه شارك الصوت، شفته على اقصى قبل ما نرجع بنقول وقف المشاركه لو سمحت.
نعم.
لسه هلا قبل ما تعمل المشاركه اعمل المشاركه قبل ما تكبس شارك في بالزر اليسار تحت شارك الصوت.
شير. اوكي
ماشي الحال.
ماشي الحال.
هلا بيمشي الحال بظن.
ارجو ذلك. طلع الصوت.
مزبوط تمام. شكرا كثير استاذ.
شكرا.
دعونا نستمع إلى ما يقول.
This is Wesley Clark, the late. He was at 2001 at the year of invading Afghanistan. He was the chief in charge of the NATO, and he is now giving a testimony regarding the Syrian situation and a number of countries in the Middle East.
هو ويسلي كلارك. خلال تلك السنوات كان كلارك قائد القوات الأمريكية في حلف الناتو، وقد ترشح للرئاسة الأمريكية عدة مرات.
I went through the Pentagon 10 days after 9/11. I couldn't stay away from Mother Army. I went back there to see Don Rumsfeld. I went downstairs. I was leaving the Pentagon, and an officer from the Joint Staff called me into his office and said, I want you to know, he said, sir, we're going to attack Iraq. And I said, why? He said, we don't know. He said, I said, well, did they tie Saddam to 9/11? He said, no. He said, but I guess they don't know what to do about terrorism, and so they think, but they can attack states, and they want to look strong, and so I walked out of there pretty upset, and then we attacked Afghanistan. I was pretty happy about that. We should have. And then I came back to the Pentagon about 6 weeks later. I saw the same officer. I said, why haven't we attacked Iraq? We still going to attack Iraq? He said, oh, sir. He says, it's worse than that. He said, he pulled up a piece of paper off his desk. He said, I just got this memo from the Secretary of Defense's office that says we're going to attack and destroy the governments in 7 countries in 5 years. We're going to start with Iraq, and then we're going to move to Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Iran. I said, 7 countries in 5 years. I said, is that a classified memo? He said, yes, sir. I said, well, don't show it to me. He was about to show it to me. He said, because I want to talk about it.
This is then Robert F. Kennedy. Robert F. Kennedy has written an article which is saying why the Arabs doesn't want us in Syria, and he is a very prominent personality. And this article was very followed in the United States and in the world.
ليس ويسلي كلارك هو وحده الذي يعتقد بأن الحرب في سوريا قد تم التخطيط لها قبل وقت طويل من بدايتها.
So as I told you, Wesley Clark is talking in 2001, and the war in Syria started in 2011 and stayed till now. It's ongoing. So this war was prepared 10 years before it started by the American administration.
يشاركه في ذلك أيضا آخرون مثل روبرت أف كينيدي جونيور، وهو ابن شقيق الرئيس السابق للولايات المتحدة. روبرت أف كينيدي جونيور وهو محام ومؤلف أمريكي متمرس، نشر مقالا عام 2007
why the Arabs don't want us in Syria.
16 في مجلة بوليتيكو بعنوان لماذا لا يريدنا العرب في سوريا؟ وقد أذهل هذا المقال الكثيرين. وقد كتب التالي: بحسب رأيهم
He wrote this. According to them,
فإن حربنا ضد بشار الأسد
our war against Bashar al-Assad
لم تبدأ مع تظاهرات الربيع العربي المدنية السلمية في عام 2011
hasn't started with in 2011 with the so-called peaceful demonstrations in 2011 in Syria. Look here, instead it began in 2001. Qatar proposed to construct a 10 billion 1,500 kilometer pipeline through Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Syria and Turkey.
بل بدأت منذ عام 2000 عندما اقترحت قطر مد خط أنابيب بطول 1500 كيلومتر بقيمة 10 مليارات دولار أمريكي عبر السعودية والأردن وسوريا وتركيا.
And for Syria has refused making this pipeline. They decided to destroy it and to take it out of the map and make the pipeline.
كذلك يمكن لشخص آخر وهو رئيس الوزراء السابق القطري حمد بن جاسم.
This is Hamad bin Jassim, the late Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of Qatar, and he is talking now. He will talk in English, so I won't translate.
أن يجيب بسهولة عن هذه التساؤلات.
There's even questions have been raised about how much funding Qatar has done to some of the Islamic groups in Syria.
Look, in Syria, everybody did mistakes, including your country. When the war or the revolution happened in Syria, all of us worked through 2 operation rooms, one in Jordan and one in Turkey. The first one was in Jordan, and there was countries, some of the GCC countries, among them the Saudis, the Emiratis, Qatar, United States, and other allies. And they was working from there, and all of us, we was supporting the same group. In Turkey, we did the same. We discovered by the time, you supported wrong groups sometimes, sure, but you stop. It doesn't mean that we did not do something wrong there.
وقد أقرت قطر نفسها بهذا الأمر. عندما ساءت العلاقات بين قطر والسعودية ووضع السعوديون قطر تحت ضغط اقتصادي وسياسي، حاول المسؤولون القطريون إلقاء اللوم على الرياض بشأن ما حدث في سوريا، ولم يكونوا على علم بأنهم كانوا يعترفون بدورهم في الأزمة السورية أيضاً.
And at the beginning, and I say this publicly, the beginning, we have the green light from King Abdullah, late King Abdullah, that we lead and they will support us in this. And that was a discussion direct with the King Abdullah. And then they try to, later they want to change their opinion. They should inform us. We don't mind to be in the back seat and they
wanted to take the lead?
Yeah, we don't mind they take the lead. They are the big country. We choose to be there because they don't want to appear in the beginning that they are, completely involved. It was easy to change the regime first year. Easy, because there was no Russian completely involvement, no Iranian.
There were accusations that Qatar funded al-Nusra, which was linked to al-Qaeda. This happened, yes.
I don't think we have a relation with somebody which United States and all the other allies does not know about it.
This is the video. I will send it to you also, and I will leave you to judge. But we don't have anything in the war against Syria. Nothing has to do with the with the human rights, nor the nuclear any reason that is related to the security of the world. It is only related to the political will that United States and some powers in the world want to impose on the Syrian people, and they refused. My dear friends, during the last 11 years, we have been fighting, we have been paying the souls of our sons, and we defended our sovereignty by blood, and we defended we sacrificed a lot to keep our sovereignty, and to keep we have suffered a lot, and we are suffering a lot, but we won't be ruled by the terrorism. I will say I am proud of being a member or a functional in the Syrian government under the leadership of His Excellency President Bashar al-Assad, who is defending, leading the Syrian people and the Syrian army to defeat the terrorism, defending all the world and all the civilization and all the future generations from this very dangerous disease. There is one thing I want to share with you more. It is regarding the we talked about how these powers have acted against Syria. But I would like also to talk about something very important. Hello?
كل شيء تمام أستاذ فراس.
I would like هل أستطيع أن أشارك مرة ثانية
طبعا ما في أي مشكلة، لسه الصلاحيات مع حضرتك.
جميل، شكرا لك أستاذي. I would like just to share another a little thing regarding the Japanese government act during this war. At the time that all the war was fighting against Syria, at the time that they were destroying Syria, Japan has played the role of sending humanitarian aids to the Syrian people inside and outside Syria. These are about $2 billion during these 11 years to relieve the humanitarian suffering of the Syrian people. And as a matter of fact, whatever Japan was building there, the Americans and the EU and other powers were destroying. So Japan is a great country and is very respected in Syria. And this is a photo that I made representing the Syrian flag and the Japanese flag and the extending Asia between them, and Damascus, Kara, Tokyo, AIO Committee. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. Now, time for questions. Please send me the cards. Those who are ready, please send me. أنا خليتهم يكتبوا الأسئلة كتابة، لأنه لو تركتهم وجربت مع ضيوف آخرين، يعني جبت زملائي أساتذة في الاقتصاد وكذا، يا أخي ما بيسأل الياباني.
نعم بيخجلوا، يمكن بيخجلوا.
Hi. Oh, it's written in English. First question, the coronavirus is going around But are refugees constantly moving abroad? Okay, thank you. So it's about
Yes.
coronavirus.
Do you like to give me all the questions and I answer, or
Yes,
one by
okay.
one?
Okay, I will tell you one by all, and then you choose. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Does Syria have any hopes or possibilities of improving this situation?
Yes. Yes.
Next. Do you think they can end the war without using weapons? What is the best way to end the war?
Yes.
What do you think the role of Japan for Syrian situation?
Yes. Okay.
Just a moment. Many questions actually.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay, so you can start answering.
Yes.
Because the group
Regarding the coronavirus, I would like to, and the refugees, I would like to say that Syria is one of the less affected countries in the world of coronavirus. And I don't know if you are Syria. The health care in Syria is gratis. The people doesn't pay anything for it, and the measures that are taken by the government are protecting the people. Regarding the case of refugees, I would like to highlight a little thing here, that the majority of the displaced persons are displaced persons from the places, from their lands to the lands inside Syria. It means they escaped from terrorism to the places where are protected by the Syrian government, by the Syrian army, because there they were safe. So we have about 7 or 8 million Syrians, displaced Syrians inside Syria, and a number outside Syria, in Turkey and so on, Jordan, Lebanon, and some went to Europe because they were not capable to escape to inside Syria, to the places where government is dominating. I would like to raise one thing here. Now we are defeating the terrorism. The number of refugees is there's no more increasing in their numbers, and a lot are returning to Syria from outside. Yes, we have hopes to improve this situation. There are international changes in the world. First of all, the Syrian people has and the Syrian army led by the president was capable to defeat the terrorism. We suffered a lot. We gave a lot of sacrifices to win this war. We strategically been patient for 10 years and more. And now the situation is getting better. Now, for example, there are some moves from the regional countries like Jordan, the King of Jordan, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Emirates, who has visited Syria lately, and they are working. They are now trying, because they can't. Syria is not. They can't make any international economic without the role of Syria. This is due to its strategic location, and so yes, the situation will improve. We are gaining the war. We are coming stronger, and everything will change. Can you end the war without using the weapons? The war will instantly stop when the intervention, the outside intervention, go away. We have got more than 100,000 mercenaries, foreign mercenaries from more than 120 countries who has come to make their sacred war in Syria. We have got Turkish occupation of our north in our northern area. We have American occupation. So we just want to live in peace. We don't have any. It is not something that we are looking for. It is something that is imposed on us. They attacked our country. They came to us. They tried to kill us. They killed us, and they destroyed our infrastructure. So yes, the war can be ended without weapons when the intervention, the outside intervention ends. The role of Japan is considered a great friend of Syria, always. We love Japanese people. We respect Japanese people. We respect the Japanese role during all this situation. And as I told you, Japan has always worked to relieve the suffering of the Syrian people throughout its humanitarian aid through the international organizations like UNICEF, like UNESCO, like Red Cross, a lot of organizations, and they give a lot of support to the Syrian, to relieve the Syrian people suffering. These are the questions. Any other questions here?
Next questions.
Yes.
There are many children who are suffering from hunger and malnutrition. So Tawziya.
Yes.
What can we do for these children from Japan? Next question.
Yes.
Is the country, that means Syria, currently safe?
Yes.
In the wake of unilateral measures against Syria.
Excuse me, what was this, the last phrase, sir?
Okay.
Is Syria
is the country
yes, is currently safe
under the unilateral measures تحت الحصار
yes,
يعني.
yes, okay.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
السؤال الثالث, the third question. Okay, is it inevitable for Syrian people to suffer this, though it was well known as a game between the US and Russian, whether Syrian would pull through or not?
Okay.
I hope it is clear.
Okay.
So what things?
Another question?
Last final question. What things Syrian government can improve?
Okay.
Finish.
Can improve.
And we have around 5-6 minutes.
Yes. Okay. So regarding the children.
Sorry. Wait.
Yes.
I have to plug the sound.
Yes, thank you for your questions. Regarding the help for children, there is always something to do. There is always something to give. And I don't know, maybe you can present anything in the meaning of the most important thing for us is to stop the unilateral sanctions against us, to stop the intervention in our country, to stop all the things that are making the suffering of the children and their parents and or the vulnerable parts of the society. What can you give? You can. It is enough for us to know about the real situation, to try to make others understand the reality of what is happening in Syria, and it's very important to us to try to study this situation, and we are ready to give you all the needed information. You are always welcome in the embassy to give you all the needed information regarding the Syrian issue. Syria now is safe. Yes, it is safe. All the places where are dominated by the Syrian government are safe. Under the unilateral sanctions are very dangerous. Yes, they are very dangerous. They are prohibiting us from getting, for example, gasoline for winter. They are people now is suffering from cuts of electricity, cuts of internet, cuts of shortage of ways to get warm. Yes, the unilateral situation, the unilateral sanctions are making these dangers on the Syrian people, but the safety in the places where the government is dominating are maybe it's as safe as here. Is it inevitable? Regarding this issue, the US and Russian, I think it has to be in long discuss. But I would like to tell you that United States has interfered in Syria from 2011. It supported the terrorists. John McCain and other senators has give legitimacy to Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the caliphate of ISIS. They created ISIS. They made a coalition outside of United Nations Security Council. It is not at any way something that is related with with any clash between. Let me say it in another word. It is related that they want to divide Syria. They want to Syria not be diversified. They want it to be divided to serve the interests of Israel, of the Israeli entity, because they want to build the Jewish state. And to build the Jewish states and to get legitimacy for this Jewish state, you have to divide Syria into sectarial states. And this was the main thing, in addition to economic and strategic things. What things the Syrian government can improve? Syrian government has defeated terrorism. Syrian government is working all the possible to improve the situation of the Syrian people, their livelihood, and to get rid of all the situation and to reconstruct Syria. I hope that I have answered all the questions. Thank you very much
for answering our questions. これでよろしいですか、皆さん。大丈夫ですよね。はい。I would like to thank you, and I would like to take a memorial photo, screenshot. 皆さん、ちょっとスクリーンショット撮っていいでしょうか。この状態、見える状態でよろしい？そのままでいいです。Okay, I'll take one screenshot. ちょっと待ってください。Wait. So, this is I took. ちょっとそのまま 怒ります。Wait, I will send you directly because これはこれです。So this is screenshot. Wait, again to screenshot. なんで Wait. 大丈夫？はい。This is screenshot. I don't know why it doesn't work. Why it doesn't work? Screenshot どうして？
Screenshot.
ちょっと I'm trying to take screenshot, but it doesn't work.
Let me.
Wait, I will see another possibility.
Maybe I am the admin for that.
No, it doesn't. Well, you can take screenshot as well.
I don't know how.
ちょっと待って。できないね。なんで？This is very strange. This is because I told you this technical issue here is different from usual. なんでスクリーンショットできないの？ This is last chance. Okay, I have another solution. Wait, I'll take it by my phone. I'll take 携帯で。So this is the only possible way. Okay. أخذت الصورة بالموبايل تبعي.
شكرا.
لأنه ما اشتغلت
شكرا يا أستاذ. شكرا.
وعلى كل حال الفيديو حيكون مسجل ونقدر ناخذ منه صور.
نعم.
فهذا بياخذ معي يومين بس تنزيل وبعدين إن شاء الله بطلع.
نعم.
Thank you very much again. Please let's thank Mr. Firas from Syrian Arab Embassy in Tokyo for this important lecture and information about Syria under sanctions, from almost entirely the entire world except a few countries. So Syrians are suffering. Thank you, Mr. Firas, and to see you again and again in my class.
It's to my pleasure.
Thanks again.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, now let me end this because we have some thing to do at the class.
Thank you, sir.
Bye bye.
ありがとうございました。
バイバイ。ありがとうございました。言ってください。
バイバイ。